hey, I don't know that this is going to be gone next week, but I can help you fix this. And that was like that first moment, because the doctors all said like, it could be a month, it could be 6 months, it could be 2 years. You know?
Zach Davis, national record recording artist from Hot Springs. Dude, I appreciate you coming out here today on the Spot City Podcast.
Absolutely.
So you and I have a unique way of meeting, and we'll get into that on how you and I met. But I first want to just start with the fact that one of the things I love doing on this podcast is talking to people from the Spa City, Hot Springs. Which inspired this for me is because I love this city. I was born and raised here, and most people don't realize people who are from here that are doing amazing things. You know, we've had people like, Bobby Murray, who was the first person to ever win the Bassmaster Classic in fishings from Hot Springs. I want to talk a little bit about your story a little bit when it comes to music.
For sure.
When and at what age did you know, like, you had a passion for music?
That's tough. My dad was a music minister in church growing up. Okay. So he had me singing and stuff in church from a very early age. But I was never just super passionate about music until college. Because, man, growing up, I was hunting, fishing, playing football. That's all I really cared about. And then I got to college and got hurt, couldn't play ball anymore. And I was still hunting and fishing and stuff, but I wanted something to dream about, I guess. And so, man, I started picking up my guitar a little more, and then I was like, hey, I'm kind of good at this, And then, one thing led to another. I got on American Idol, and then after that, it was go time.
Yeah, so talk about American Idol a little bit. Like, what was the process like of, like, the selection and the timeline and how that all came to be?
It was wild. So, at the time, when I first auditioned, I was actually working for a car dealership here in town. And
this is when you're auditioning?
Yeah. So
you're like, I'm just going to give this a try.
Huh? Well, and my brother had been on it the year before, Noah Davis.
Okay.
And so he had made it to like the top 25, and then he was like, dude, just go try. I was like, nah, man, I don't want to be on American Idol, music is not my thing. I'm going to be a cattle farmer for the rest of my life. And basically, I was selling cars to make money so I could buy a cattle farm. That's literally what I was doing. And my little brother, he was like, if I get you a front of the line pass so you don't have to wait in line, will you at least go try? And I was like, yeah, I guess, So I go up to Little Rock. It's like August. And I go up to Little Rock and I audition and I end up making it. And
what did you sing? Do you remember?
I sang I Told You So by Randy Travis, but I played it on guitar.
Okay.
And so then they send me to Atlanta, Georgia. And I made it through at Atlanta, Georgia, which that was like callbacks. Like, because when you audition in Little Rock, you're just in front of producers. You're not in front of like the big judges yet, right?
Yeah.
So then they sent me to Atlanta, and I made it through there, and then they sent me to Hollywood. So then I went to Hollywood in like October, early November, or something like that, and then the show aired in like January. But I didn't make it past Hollywood.
But, so you went August to next thing you know, you're in Atlanta.
Yeah, like a month, or no, actually, it was like the end of August, audition Little Rock. The next week, they sent me to Atlanta.
They were like, this guy's got it.
Yeah, so then they sent me to Atlanta the next week, made it there, and then like October or whatever it was, early November or something like that, they sent me to LA.
So like with no real music, like technically at this point you haven't recorded anything.
Oh, no.
You just show up to this and you've got a Randy Travis song. Like, I imagine that's probably a little nerve-wracking.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I dude, at the time, I'd never played a show. I hadn't even played a show. I mean, I had sang at church.
Yeah.
But I hadn't ever played a show
Totally
before.
different environment.
Oh, yeah. I mean.
Producers, lights.
Yeah. So, like.
Go.
And then when I was in front of the judges, like Luke Bryan, Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, I sang "Fire Away" by Chris Stapleton and played it on guitar.
Yeah, that's not it. That's ballsy.
Oh, dude, it is exactly. And I was so scared when I walked in there. And man, like I said, I'd never played really in front of anybody, especially not, three superstars in music. You know. Dude, I walked in there. I could barely play my guitar. My hands just like, dude, I was shaking so hard. But yeah, dude, it was nerve wracking. But it's one of those things. You go in there and you just, man, you got to take a deep breath and you're just like, okay, either I make it or I don't. It's not that big of a deal.
What do I got to lose? Yeah, I wasn't even supposed to be here.
Exactly. And that's literally the mentality you have to have about it. Is I wasn't even supposed to. Dude, if you'd have told me when I was 18 years old, oh, dude, they're going to fly you to Hollywood, California. I'd be like, no, dude, I'm not going to California, first off. And so, yeah, I mean, it was just, I got to experience, L.A. I got to experience Hollywood, and it was just crazy. So, yeah, I mean, you just got to go in there and just give it all you got.
So then you went to Atlanta in front of the big dogs, and they're like, wow, like, what was their response? Like, what was the, like, and they obviously moved you on, but like,
yeah, and it was really weird too, because eventually it was like they were like, dude, you're good, and that's the whole thing, is like you try not to get your head too big, at any time, and they'll let you know too. They're like, hey, you're good, but you're not there yet, So I think that was most of the especially like when I got sent home and stuff too. I remember
that was in Hollywood.
Yeah. So I remember Lionel Richie came up to me. He's like, hey, don't give up, like, you got it, and I think that's the thing is, and dude, in all honesty, had it not been for him, and then Luke Bryan saying, "Hey, bro, move to Nashville, go to Nashville, like, work on this craft, like you've never done anything with it, so raw. Go, just and that was the thing. They all three of them said, dude, you're raw, you're very raw, you're very uncut, you're like." And I was walking up in there with a cowboy hat and a beard, I mean, like, at the time, that was before. I feel like American Idol the last few years has kind of taken like a country kind of thing. And that was before like country was cool, so like it was a cowboy hat, jeans, boots, and they made me cover up the Wrangler patch on my shirt, like, and so it was one of those things where they were like, hey, dude, you're super raw, and like, go somewhere, perform in front of people, tone your craft, and get better. And I think that was the driving force of me going, all right, yeah, like I want to go. I want to go do that.
Yeah, so now we're, American Idol ends, and then now you've officially been to Nashville. You've moved to Nashville. You've lived in Nashville. I think you said 5 years.
So a little over 5 years. Yeah.
So you moved to Nashville, and you're like, what's the? I mean, is the end game obviously like what is it for you that's like that we're chasing?
Man, in all honesty, for me, it's I want to pay my bills with music, whatever that looks like. I've got 2 girls. I've got 2 daughters. So I want to, I want to give my kids the best education I can give them. I want to do all these things. Growing up, dude, and my mom will tell you too, man, we were poor. I mean, we didn't have nothing. So I want to be able to give my kids more than what I had, but also show them, hey, like, you got to work for what you got kind of thing, Mm-hmm. But if I can pay those bills and do all that kind of stuff and let my fiance be a stay-at-home mom, and I can do it with music, that's the end goal. Now, would I love to see my name in lights? Absolutely.
Who wouldn't?
And I'd love to be on a tour bus and playing across the world. That'd be awesome. But if my success in music looks like me in a writer's room 4 days a week and selling songs to those artists that are on the tour buses and stuff, if that's what it looks like, then that's what it looks like. As long as there's some success to take care of my family and my kids, I'm all good.
So the passion is obviously it's music, and what you're saying is you don't care if it's songwriting, song singing, both.
For sure.
As long as it can provide the lifestyle that you want for your family and music. Dude, that's incredible. It's super cool. It's inspiring, honestly. But when it comes to writing music, I've always been intrigued by, here lately I've kept up a lot with Hardy.
Yeah, Hardy's a good dude.
Because most people don't realize, and of course you and I do because we're country music fans, that Hardy started writing music.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's written a lot of number 1 hits that no one knows Hardy wrote that.
Yeah, one of his biggest ones before he was Hardy, God's Country by Blake Shelton. He wrote that.
Yeah. I found that out because we were in Little Rock at a concert one time, and it was Morgan Wallen and it was Hardy. And Hardy was like, I'm going to go ahead and play a song for y'all that I wrote. And he just left it there. And it was God's Country. And I was like, wait, what?
Yeah.
He wrote that?
Yeah.
Like, wow, I didn't know that. So then I started looking into Hardy. And then as he was performing, I was like, man, this guy's really good.
Yeah.
But going back to songwriting, like, I know how many songs have you written? How far into that are you? Like, what's your experience with that?
So I have, like, right now on, like, iTunes, Spotify, I have 20 songs released that I've wrote. And I was either the sole writer of the song or I had other people wrote with me. This year so far, I've had 5 songs get cut that I wrote. Mm-hmm. I would bet that I've probably got over 150 songs that I've wrote in the past, 5 years that are worth anything.
Yeah.
That are decent. I've probably got over 300 that I've either started or I wrote, and I'm like, I can't believe I just wasted 2 hours on this, But I mean, obviously some are going to be better than others and stuff like that. But yeah, I would say that I've probably got over 300 that I've wrote, but I'd say about 150 of those I would be willing to cut myself or say, hey, I've got this song that I wrote, why don't you do it? Kind of thing.
That's super cool, man. Like, talk about the songwriting process for a second for you. Like,
yeah,
I mean, if most people, 9 out of 10 people, were to just sit down and be like, all right, I'm gonna write a song, like they're gonna sit there and look at the piece of paper.
Yeah.
Where does that because obviously it sounds like you didn't go to Belmont to learn how to write music.
No.
You didn't, like how did you get into where you were like, the flow, and what's your process like there with that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's repetition. I remember being, it's like in college. Whenever I was like, I've got to do something with my life, so I picked up guitar. Well, I was like, you sitting there playing all these other songs by all these other people, and you're like, nah, maybe I should try writing my own. And so I started writing some little songs just about my life experiences and about things that I enjoy doing or my family. I've got a whole album called Hey Papaw, and I think there's like 8 songs on that album that are literally just about family members and stuff like that. And so you write about things that are personal to you. And then once I felt like I kind of got good at that, I ventured out and started doing, hey, let's write a beer drinking song, or let's write a love song, or whatever else. And that looks a lot different once you start bringing other people in too. When you're writing a song by yourself, it's very, very meaningful to you, and that's like the family stuff, right? So then once I got to Nashville and I met all these people that are writing songs, I'm like, oh, well, let's get in a room together and write this song. And so then that process really looks like let's say me and 2 friends, we get a room at a writer's building in Nashville, and we sit down and we say, oh, well, I had this idea for a title of a song. Or one of my best friends, Emily Ortega, she's great with like coming up with melodies on a guitar. So she was like, oh, well, I played this melody on the guitar. What if we wrote something to this? So there's sometimes where it starts with a title. There's sometimes it starts with, oh, I had a line that I wanted it to say this in the song. Or there's sometimes it's just a melody, and then you go, oh, well, that sounds kind of churchy, so let's do this. Or that sounds like super swampy, so let's write about this. So it takes a different form depending on who's in the room or what your inspiration is, whether it's a line, a title, or the sound of it.
It's just it's fascinating to me just hearing you go through that, because then you can start to. I think some of the most powerful songs that were ever written and sang were something that was very deeply personal to someone going through something. It's almost like a therapy for the person in the moment. Yeah. It would seem like it's. Especially when it comes to country music, like there's some deep country music. Oh, yeah. When you talk about like some of the depth to some of the songs.
Yeah. Well, like last year, I have a song that actually hit radio last year. It's called Your Side of the Bed. And my friend Emily and then our buddy Matt England, they got together and they wrote the song, and they wrote it for me. At the time, I wasn't writing, I wasn't playing music. I was actually going through a divorce. And it was an ugly divorce, and so it was one of those things where I was depressed. I was at a stage in life where, man, I was a raging alcoholic, and so I just was doing all kinds of stuff to not have anybody around me, right?
Yeah.
And so I wasn't hanging out with my friends, and I was like, man, we should write a song for Zach, And so they write the song, and about a month later, me and Emily, we actually got paid to go out to West Virginia to go play this show in West Virginia. So we're on the way there, and she kind of looks at me, she's like, dude, are you okay? And I was like, not really, but, we're getting there. She's like, well, me and Matt wrote the song, I want you to listen to it. And so the song is called Your Side of the Bed. It's just talking about, how that side of the bed is now empty, right? And I'm listening to this song, and I'm just squalling. Yeah. Like, I'm talking, tears rolling down everywhere. It was awful. And so I took the song, and they're like, we want you to make it your own. So I changed a couple lines in the verses and changed the melody just a tad. And then I took it to this producer, and the producer was like, yeah, this is sick. Like, this could be something. And because of that song, I had my first ever record deal offer. So that was, it was
How long ago was that?
The song came out, I think, a year ago next month.
Okay.
Something like that. But I mean, I started like once I got the demo back for that, I'm sending it to all these companies that I've had conversations with before, like, hey, listen to this, And so then I had one company like, yo, this is good, And so it was,
all it takes is one.
Yeah, just that one song, and I've been in contact with them ever since. So it's it's been a cool thing just to see. But like you said, it just takes that one song. But that's probably the most personal and deep song I've ever written, about myself.
Right.
So,
right.
yeah, the country music's all about a story.
Oh man, and country music is very interesting right now. Like, who's your to you, who's the GOAT in country music right now?
Man, I'm not gonna lie. Right now, dude, I gotta tip my hat to Luke Combs. He just released that Fathers and Sons album, and that gripped at my heart. Every song, I was squalling. But you got.
I was listening to the one the other day. Was it let the little boys be country boys?
Yeah.
I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, something like that.
Let the boys let them be country boys.
Oh, the Jason Aldean song.
It may be.
Yeah.
Oh man,
let your boys be country.
Yeah, it's so good. And that whole album's good.
Oh yeah.
So, is there anybody that like you would say your genre or your sort of you kind of have the same? Because there's always he has like a Chris Stapleton vibe with a Luke Combs. Like, have you been told that by people?
Yeah, I get because I know it's crazy. Like, I'm a big dude. I'm 6'5", 300 some odd pounds. I mean, I'm a big dude.
Every bit of that, yeah.
Oh yeah, every bit. I was
gonna
a little more than that.
I was gonna say 6'8", but everybody looks 6'8" to me. So.
Yeah. So you wouldn't really tell it by looking at me, but I sing super high. So I get Rascal Flatts all the time. Yeah.
I can see that. Gary LaVox.
Yeah.
I was actually listening to I was flipping through your Instagram and I was looking. It was I was like, He Stopped Loving Her Today by George Jones. Yeah. I was like, wow.
And I changed that one up a bunch. I make that one my own. Because
dude,
George sings that one super low.
That's a hard song.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a classic.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. That's another thing I wanted to ask about American Idol. I've always heard that it's really important song choice. Song choice is very important. Whenever you went in there and you sang Fire Away, like, were you like, I'm going to sing this because I like this song, I'm going to sing it because it's hard and I can nail it? Or,
yeah. I love the song. Chris Stapleton is a monster.
To me, yeah.
But I think, too, with that, in all honesty, when I walked into that, I felt like I had no shot in the dark. So I wanted to go in there and just kind of set the mood. Like, hey, I might be this redneck from Royal, Arkansas, but I got pipes, and so I think it was more too a confidence thing for me. Like, if I can go in there being nervous and nail a Chris Stapleton song, I got this in the bag, know. And I sing Fire Away a little different than what Chris does too. So I think for me, it was really just a confidence thing, but it was also one of those things where, like, when you hit it and they go, oh. Then you're like, okay, I got this in the bag kind of thing. So it was a little bit of everything, I think, confidence, but also to show off a little bit. Like, I want them to remember that moment.
Yeah. So you're in the moment singing, and it's almost like you're hitting a note and then looking.
Yeah, exactly.
Hitting a note, looking, okay, I got him. Like,
things look good. It's all about seeing their body language too, because when they sit up and they're like, oh, you're like, I did that.
Got him. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome, man. Well, dude, it's super cool because I just also wanted to throw in here like how we even met, right? It's crazy how you ended up on this podcast, how we ended up even chatting about this. You want to share a little bit about that as far as just like how you and I interacted? And
yeah, for sure. So, man, I was in the hospital for like 6 days, and I had all this stuff going on, and had really a lot of more questions and answers at the moment, and man, my buddy Jacob Crumpler, which
shout out Jacob Crumpler, man.
Yeah, Jacob's that dude.
Yeah,
man.
he's just set this whole thing up. Yeah,
and he texted me and he was like, "Man, there's this guy in town. He's a chiropractor. He has experience dealing with stuff with Bell's palsy." He said, "I really think you need to go and talk to him." And I had what the doctors called Ramsay Hunt syndrome. So I had Bell's palsy in half my face, couldn't hardly talk, had zero balance, could barely walk. And then they told me I had a Chiari malformation in the back of my skull. And so, man, came in here and...
Yeah, it's funny because I hear you talk, because I remember that first day you walked in, you're like using the wall.
Oh, dude, it was so bad.
Using the wall. And I'll be honest, dude, at the time I was like, if this guy goes down, I can't stop him. So I'm going to get squashed if he goes down. But I just remember, like, the look on your face was like... Because, bro, like, you're having a hard time talking. We're definitely not singing.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
I mean, it was a dire straight moment of like, I need some help with this. Yeah. And and I'm sure you remember what I told you, but it was just very straightforward. Like, This is what do you remember from that day? That very first day?
Man, I just remember. I've never been adjusted by a chiropractor before.
Yeah.
So when I came in, dude, I was so scared. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I was terrified.
Yeah.
But I just remember, like, when you started doing the thing on the back of my neck, and you're like, dude, you've had like a lot of head trauma. And my mom had sent you the email with all the paperwork and stuff.
Yeah.
And you're like, and you mentioned a Chiari malformation. Like, oh, they told you you had a Chiari malformation. I was like, yeah, how did you know that? And you're like, bro, you don't have one of those. I was like, okay, you know, and I'm sitting there thinking, oh God, I hope this guy's right, you know?
Right.
But it was just one of those things. I just remember you saying, like, hey, I don't know that this is going to be gone next week, but I can help you fix this. Yeah. And that was like that first moment, because the doctors all said, like, it could be a month, it could be 6 months, it could be 2 years. You know, and I was terrified. Like, we had already planned on moving to Nashville, and this is how I make my money.
Yeah,
you know, like,
this is a big deal.
So I was terrified. When you said, bro, I promise you I'm going to help you, I was like,
yeah.
You know, and then as soon as you did that first adjustment, I remember sitting up, and I was just like, my head's not spinning as bad as right off the rip, you know?
Yeah.
And then I remember the next day, I'm at home, and my fiance was like, hey, do the little smile thing like they made you do in the hospital. And I remember I smiled, and my top lip moved, and I went, whoa, no way, you know? And it was just that thing of, you know, I'd never, like I said, I'd never been to a chiropractor, so I was like, yo, this works. Like, this is legit, you know? And, you know, growing up, I'd never, and this not to bash, I'd never taken chiropractic seriously.
Yeah, oh,
you
yeah,
know what I mean?
That's fair. I get that. Listen, there's no offense to it at all.
And then it was just like with Jacob. Jacob's always telling me, oh, well, I can do this and that. I'm like, yeah, whatever. But then, bro, and then you see it work, and you're like, okay, like, I get it now. Like, I do, and I'm not gonna lie, I was just having lunch right before this. I'm telling my buddy Zach Goodner, I'm having lunch with him. I'm like, dude, you need to go see this dude because he's having some problem with his back. So I was like, go right now. And it's just one of those, like, you see it, and it's just like, I have all the faith in it. You know, it was dude. And I mean, we've been two and a half weeks since I'm out of the hospital. Yeah, I've already got all the movement back in my face except for like this one little spot right here. That's nothing compared to I couldn't even move my face. Yeah, I'm driving again. Yeah. Yeah, and amazing. I was told it could be 6 months or longer. Yeah, which is just crazy. Yeah, no,
crazy. It's an inspiring story for me. I mean, but it's fun to hear your side of it because there's always like two interpretations or perceptions of the same event. It's crazy, right? Because if you think about it, like, you walked into an American Idol situation terrified. Right. Ended up being one of the most, I would argue, probably one of the greatest breakthroughs in your life that propelled you to where you are. Right. Same thing. You walk in here, you're scared to death. And my takeaway from that is this, and anyone watching this show that I've come to really appreciate about life is the things that make you very uncomfortable and the things that scare you are the things that ultimately produce the most resilient result in your life.
Oh, for sure.
You know, the things that just, like, I'm sure at some level it scares you to death to move to, I mean, I'm assuming you're stepping out on a limb. Oh, yeah. You're moving to Nashville, you don't know anybody, you're having to show up in places, and I'm assuming at this level it's just trying to get your name out there and be seen by the right person. Yeah. Like, that's scary. You know, there's a lot of people in this world today, everybody resorts to comfort. Everybody, in a world where our showers warm the water, where we have AC units in our homes, we are built in this comfort bubble. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the reasons why, like, I get up at 4:30 in the morning every single morning. I do really uncomfortable things, like get up early and cold plunge and work out with guys that make me uncomfortable. Yeah. Former SEALs, 20-pound vests, all that stuff scares me. Until you do it about a month, it doesn't scare you anymore. Right. Until you live in Nashville for a year, it doesn't scare you anymore. Until you go to American Idol a couple times, that probably wouldn't scare you anymore. Right. Now you'd be like, I'll be a judge. How many times do you want me to sing in front of these judges? Right. But it's that, I think, is such a powerful takeaway for our viewers of, like, whatever that thing is that's like, this is very uncomfortable, I'm scared to death of that, that's what you need to do. Oh, for sure. That's what you got to push into. That's what you got to, because what you're going to find on the other side of that is you're far more capable of what you thought you were capable of. And a lot of times the very thing that scares you is the very thing that'll empower you the most when it comes to overcoming, right? Instead of just reverting back to this comfortable place. Dude, that's just so good. But on the next journey, right, this next leg of moving to Nashville and doing something very uncomfortable, is your fam going with you? Is this so everybody's moving? Yeah, so this is going to be, so my fiance, and we have 2 kids together. So, like, I think moving the kids so far has been the hardest part of this whole thing. Oh, I'm sure. I had no idea how many toys my 4-year-old had. But it's going to be, you know, and they're about to be away from
you know, everything that they know, their family, their friends. You know, my daughter was in preschool this year for the first year.
Yeah.
And so she's got these little friends that, you know, she got to see every day. And now, and I think that was the hardest part about moving back was, you know, do I take my kids away from that? Do I take my fiance away from that? You know, and it really took us sitting down and discussing everything and laying out the expectations, but also like, man, praying. You know, like, God, is this what we're supposed to be doing? Is this where you want us to go? And you know, I think that he's had a resounding yes in that, and you know, as the leader of my home and stuff, it's taken that to kind of make that decision. But it's still scary, you know, like to go up there and know that. And this time it's different, you know. It's this time it's, man, my kids' lives are on the line, you know, like their success rides on me succeeding, and so I think it's a little more of a fire under my butt, you know, to grind a little harder, and even and it's not just, you know, it's even been lately not just my music but my health and stuff too. Like to be a performer, you got to be able to be on stage and run around, and so, you know, the last couple months I've lost 40 pounds, and it's continuing that, and so it's not just, you know, not just the music part of it, but being a healthier person for my kids and all that kind of stuff, and just being able to perform.
I always like asking this question to people who appreciate country music like I do. Who is, in your view, greatest country music singer of all time? Top two. I'll give you top three.
Top three.
Top three right there. Boom. 1, 2, 3. In any order.
So any order. I just thought, so I don't, this won't come back to bite me in the butt one day. Man, I'm the biggest Travis Tritt fan you'll ever meet.
Okay.
So I got to put Travis in there. Oh gosh. I'd probably throw Randy Travis in my top three. Big Randy Travis fan. Dang, dude, that's tough.
Yeah, I know.
I got two old school. Let's do one new school. If I had to say, like, someone I think is really, like, today, man, I'm going to have to go with Luke Combs. I think that he's a phenomenal songwriter, performer. I've seen the dude in concert so many times. And actually, we're going to throw an honorable mention in there, too, Cody Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
I am a massive Kojo fan. And I would say he's right up there with all three of those guys. A great performer, fantastic singer. See,
I'm gonna show my age here.
Okay.
You know, you're much younger than I am, but that's okay. I'm an old school guy. I also like classic rock a lot too.
Oh, word.
So,
Big classic
you know, Nashville. That's why Nashville's so fun. Honestly, if you've never been to Nashville, the funnest part about Nashville is literally every bar you walk into is gonna have a different vibe.
Oh yeah.
One's gonna be classic rock. One's gonna be like new age rock. One's gonna be kid rock. One's gonna be country. One's gonna be like Brooks and Dunn country. And one's gonna be like George Jones country. Yeah. So I'll never forget this. I got to tell the story before I get my three. I walked into Nashville one time, and me and my wife love going to Broadway. We were there on New Year's Eve, and I walked into Layla's. Mm-hmm. Little bitty hole in the wall place, right next to Tootsie's. You pass Tootsie's and Layla's on a little bitty tiny place. And I was like, let's just pop in here. We popped in there, and this old school band's in there, dude. Like all these cats are like 60 or older. And Mary Lee was like, oh, this is kind of. They ran an intermission, and I was like, no, we need to stick around. I was like, these guys at that age in this band, I was like, they're not here at that age, and they're not still here unless they're baller. And I will never forget, they started picking, and they played Jason Isbell, Boots by, Cover Me Up?
Cover Me Up, yeah.
Dude. And I was like, I'd never heard that song before. This was before Morgan Wallen recovered it, and Jason Isbell, I even knew who that was. And this dude went up there and piped out Cover Me Up by Jason Isbell, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, so after I went up there, I was like, hey, like, who are you? Why are you not recorded? And he was like, I've been playing in this bar for 25 years and never been picked up.
It's crazy.
And I was like, wow. Like, I mean, and the only thing I could assume is like, maybe he just didn't look the part, or maybe he just didn't have the physique, or maybe he just, I don't know. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like, you know, you like the Luke Combs vibe, the Chris Stapleton blend vibe, like, what you have going for you is you don't have the charisma, like, and you have what it takes when it comes to Nashville. Yeah, you obviously have the pipes, but like when it comes to just like the aura and the demeanor, and you're who you are.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget walking in there and being like, dude, these guys are like 60-something years old, just crushing it in this bar.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I know exactly who you're talking about. I've seen them playing.
Yeah.
I don't know their names, but I've seen them playing.
They're incredible, dude.
Yeah.
It's like a 4-man band, and they're up on that tiny little stage. And
Layla's stage is so small.
Yeah, tiny.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the drums, and then like the guy's sitting on like the bass drum while he's singing. Yeah, it's crazy. I would say my top 3, dude. Number 1, I wouldn't say in any order. Alan Jackson for me has got to be somewhere. It's got to be somewhere in the 3. Number 2, I would say for me has got to be maybe George Strait. And then maybe a close third. Man, it's hard not to put Morgan Wallen on there.
Man, and no, Morgan, and that's the thing too, man. Is Morgan is so good, I mean, bro, he's got to be top 10 right now. You know?
And he was American Idol, right? Was he The Voice?
The Voice.
Okay, yeah. I mean, guy comes through The Voice, looked. You go back.
So different too.
Long hair, looking funny, looking goofy. And dude just went on there and crushed it one day, and just got in front of the right person.
Yeah.
And his voice has changed a lot too.
A lot, and if you look at like his early stuff, you know, him and Hardy obviously are really good friends.
Yeah.
So that song that he wrote, "Up Down," I don't know if you ever watched the music video. That Hardy's in the music video.
Yeah.
And Hardy and CJ Solar were the writers of that song. CJ's, I've got to meet CJ a couple times. He's a really cool dude. And so Morgan was actually signed to like a label in like Florida or something like that. Like not even in the Nashville scene yet.
Yeah.
Whenever he recorded that. And then that song just blew up. And of course, Florida Georgia Line gets in on it, and they were at the height of their thing at the time. So, you know, he was in the perfect spot for success, in all honesty.
Yeah, it's crazy how far he's come in a short amount of time. I mean, a lot of people, like, his concerts are just...
wild.
It's wild. I've been to a few of them. What's your thoughts, just as we're wrapping up, what's your thoughts on this whole new wave of pop country?
If I did pop country, I would have a record deal already. That's my thought about it. Whenever I first moved to town, and I won't throw out any names or company names or anything, but when I first moved to town, I had a record deal offer, like coming off of American Idol, and which none of my stuff even got showed. Like none of my stuff aired on American Idol, which sucks, but it was all right at the same time. So, but I came to town, played some shows. Everybody kind of like on Broadway, kind of, oh, well, he was on American Idol, da da da. And I played this one show one night, and I get introduced to this guy, and he was like, man, I'd love to sit down and have coffee with you. I was like, okay, cool. So we sit down, we have coffee, and he's like, I really like your style. He said, I want you to come play at the office for some of the, the people that work for us. I was like, yeah, cool. So I go in the office, and I'm playing, and man, I have a song out called Dirty Water. And so I ended up playing that. It's a song that I wrote. And they're like, man, we love this song. Like, we want to produce it for you. I'm like, sick. Like, I don't got to pay any money for it, whatever. Yeah. So I go in their studio, record the song, and they send me the track back. And it's like,
oh, no.
Snap drums and 808s. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like, and if you go listen to it now, it's the twangiest thing you've ever heard in your life. And I ended up, like, recording in the garage. It actually sounds like junk. I can't believe I still have it out. But it was like, it was just snappy and like pop. And I just told them, I was like, man, I don't really want to go the pop route. And they're like, man, pop country's what's in. Like, it's going to get you. And 10 years down the road, you can change it. Oh, no, you can't. You can't change your whole identity. Once you get a fan base and whatever. And dude, I'm the most redneck SOB you've ever met in your life. Like, I'm not gonna.
Some would have been off.
I mean, it's just everybody would have been able to tell.
So you turned it down.
So I turned it down.
Wow.
And they were like, man, that's kind of what we're trying to pick up right now, and da 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 da.
That's tough, man.
Not
many people could have done that.
And I mean, I think, I think that's why guys like what you were talking about, they're still playing Broadway. I'm sure he's probably had some offers, but he wants to stay true to who he is as an artist.
Yeah.
And
you regretted it all ever?
When I make my monthly truck payment, I do every now and then.
Should have taken that deal.
But I mean, in all honesty, too, though, one of these days when I do make it, I'm going to be able to look back and be like, man, I'm glad I stuck true to myself. And I think, I think real country music is on its way back. I think that there's a lot of artists. One of my favorite artists of all time, and he hasn't really made it big yet, but he writes for a lot of big names. His name's Drew Parker. Uh, I've met the guy once. Super cool dude. I've got to DM him back and forth a couple times, and one of the best songwriters in Nashville. He just signed to Hardy's publishing company actually, but he was with Warner before, and now he's with Hardy's publishing company. But just his album that he's about to release is called Camouflage Cowboy. Like the most redneck thing ever. And it's just that kind of country music, man. I think it's coming back. And so I think that it's going to be one of those things where, man, when I do make it, I'm going to be able to make the music that I love to make, write the music I love to write. And I'm going to be able to, make the living that I want to make doing the kind of music that I love.
It sounds like you got the connections. Sounds like you got the relationships. You definitely have the pipes, as you call them.
Thank you.
You definitely got the package of what it takes, I think, to maybe go down that. And obviously, I'm not a producer or a manager even, but I also do know actually. I'm going to try to connect you, make this connection for you. One of my dad's really good friends is Joe Carter, who was Tracy Bird's former manager.
Oh, yeah.
And so he's still in Nashville. So I'm going to try to make that connection with you to see if maybe there's a door that can be open with that, because Tracy Bird actually just played at Hot Springs at Magic Springs.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was not last Saturday, but the Saturday before. My dad went out there, went backstage.
Oh, that's cool. Heck yeah.
My dad used to own a fishing lure company, and they did some lures that had Tracy Bird on them. It was called Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous series.
Oh, that's cool.
So he's got some connections there, and one of the things I do know, and then Blaine Howard's a buddy of mine.
Man, I love Blaine, dude.
Yeah.
Blaine, and Blaine, dude, is one heck of a songwriter.
Yeah.
I've got some songs that I wrote with him. Me, him, and my friend Emily I was talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. I've got some really good songs that he's been a part of.
Yeah, he and I went to high school together, played football together. He was a year older than me. We were Lakeside Rams. I know you were Hamilton.
Man, Lake Hamilton for life, baby.
Oh, man. Yeah, it's crazy talking about that rivalry's actually came back a little bit.
Yeah, dude.
I
think it was, man, it sucked, too, because it was like the year after I graduated or something or like 2 years after I graduated, they brought it back. And I was like, why couldn't I have got to be in that?
See, when I was in high school, there was one game a year, and it was the game, which was basketball at Summit Arena, and that was it. Outside of that, no football. We played baseball a little bit. I was a baseball guy and football guy, but we played Lake Hamilton a little bit. I got a lot of homeboys from Lake Hamilton.
And we talk a bunch of trash. I had a bunch of friends from from Lakeside and stuff.
Hot Springs is too small. It's what's great about it is it's what you get all 4 seasons. Small town, lots of high schools where everybody knows everybody. Everybody hangs out with everybody. You get the lake scene, you get the track scene, you get the winters, you get the hiking, the streams. But if I was in wrapping up, last thing here, what's one of your just favorite things about being from Hot Springs? What's your favorite thing about the city?
Man, you kind of just hit it all right there. In all honesty, it's people in Nashville always ask me all the time, man, why do you go back home so much?
Yeah,
I love it. It's one of those things where. Especially I live a little bit outside of Hot Springs, but man, Royal is one of those places where everybody knows everybody. You go to the little Sunshine store out there.
Yep.
And you
Buck's Custom Butchering.
Man, yeah, right there by Black's too. Yeah. Man, I've had so many deer I've had get butchered at Black's.
Yeah.
And, you build relationships with these people. And my grandmother's a nurse for St. Vincent's here in town, so she knows so many people. And it's just that, there's 50,000 people here or whatever it is, but it's so small.
Yeah.
The other day I was walking downtown. I was going to get a tattoo, actually, pale horse tattoo down here. And bro, somebody's just honking the horn like, Zach Davis, what's up? And you're like, hey, it's just that thing of, man, it's big enough to have some really cool things to do, but it's small enough to where somebody doing it,
Yeah.
And
I think you and I need to sit down and we need to write a song called "Tourist in Your Own Hometown."
Yeah. Oh, dude, that'd be sick. Yeah. We need to write that down somewhere right now.
Right now, yeah. So I've always, this is episode 15, 16, whatever it is. I always have said to everyone I've interviewed, I feel like it's dope to be able to be a tourist in your own hometown.
Oh yeah.
And Hot Springs truly is one of the only places you can feel that. It's like I'm a tourist, but yet I'm from here.
Right.
It's like I find stuff I didn't even know was here a lot of the time. I'm downtown, I didn't even know this was here.
Oh yeah. It's just and it's so, especially living away from here. I come home and there's always something different happening. You're like, oh, dude, that's cool. It's like the other day they had some kind of thing on Bridge Street.
Yeah.
Where all the food
Bridge
trucks
Street
and
Live,
stuff.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, when did we start doing this?
Yeah.
Like, somebody
Yeah.
call me, let me play it, you know? And so
Yeah.
it's just cool to just see the things that are happening and the people that are down here. And I think this is one of those towns where anybody, if a celebrity came through here, like somebody just massive name and they really spent some time here, this would be the most flooded place in the U.S. There's so many just cool things to do and cool people here.
Yeah. The St. Patty's Day parade. Shout out Steve Harrison. He's been on this show before. The director of tourism puts on an incredible parade. He had Lloyd off Yellowstone here. And me and my dad got to chauffeur Lloyd around.
Oh, that's cool.
And his name's Forney Smith. Dude, super cool guy. Literally came out of his mouth. He was like, I got to come back here.
Yeah.
He was like, this is incredible. This place is sick.
Yeah.
And dude, it's hilarious because his who he is in Yellowstone is exactly who he is.
No way, that's cool.
Oh, same voice, same charisma, same chaw on the lip, same.
Yeah.
In fact, we're standing at the stage. The parade's over. He's the grand marshal, so he's at the front. We're in his truck. We have him. We come to the stage, and there's a float coming by, and these two people are getting married. And they were getting married at the St. Patty's Day parade. It was going to be the shortest wedding ever conducted.
Oh, that's cool.
So we're supposed to be keeping up with Forney, okay? Or Forey, not Forney, Forey. And we're like, dude, where's Forey? He just vanished. And I look up, and this float comes by, and he's on the float, and he's got his arms around the two people getting married, telling them congratulations. And I was
awesome.
like, dude, he's right. There he is. He's going this way.
That's
Dude, it was
awesome.
hilarious. But literally, it was the funnest thing. And so, for people who haven't ever been to St. Patty's Day Parade or the Bridge Street Lives or you guys got to take advantage of that stuff, man. Because I don't know how long Steve Harrison's going to be at the gig with the director of tourism, but he crushes it.
Oh, yeah.
He absolutely crushes it with the events he puts on, the stuff he does here in the city. Well, dude, this has been fun, man. I appreciate you popping in here.
Absolutely.
If we maybe we could just have another Zach Davis appearance whenever you're in Nashville and that first record drops, and everybody in the city is going to be super proud, super supportive of you, man, and best of luck, obviously, too. I think you're going to do amazing things, and definitely going to be in your corner rooting you on, and look forward to see what happens in the future.
Thank you, man.